Hi everybody, this is Michelle Doring for HowExpert, where we publish quick how-to guides on unique topics by everyday experts like myself. Please visit howexpert.com to learn more. Hello and what's up, HowExpert family? Today we are going to be discussing the top 10 Stephen King novels of all time in my expert opinion. So getting right into it, let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start with Stephen King's first ever published novel, Carrie. Carrie is the absolute definition of iconic. Regardless of whether you've read the book or seen the movies, if I say Stephen King's Carrie, you're gonna picture a girl drenched in blood. And part of the reason why this story stands the test of time so well is because no matter what decade you grow up in, being a teenager always sucks. Moving on to number 9, we have another classic old school Stephen King tale, Salem's Lot. I feel like Salem's Lot tends to be a bit underrated when looking at Stephen King's work as a whole, but it is genuinely one of his best stories. It's scary, it's got vampires, like actual scary vampires. What's not to love about that? At number 8 we have Needful Things. This might be a bit of a controversial opinion, but I love this book. But then again, I am kind of a sucker for the classic all your dreams come true but it comes with an ironic twist sort of a narrative. Either way though, you can't deny that this book has great atmosphere. The town of Castle Rock is basically a character in and of itself. Moving into number 7, we have The Dead Zone. Fun fact, this is the first Stephen King book I ever read when I was like 6 years old, and I've been in love with his work ever since. Granted, it does make a lot more sense when you read it when you're not 6. This book, I think, has a little bit of something for everybody. There's political aspects, there's like murder mystery aspects, there's paranormal aspects, and there's like really sympathetic and relatable characters. Definitely worth a read if you've never read it before. And coming in at number 6, we have arguably the most iconic Stephen King book, The Shining. While being incredibly different from its movie counterpart, The Shining definitely made a lasting impact on so many people. Again, we've got the really great atmosphere with the Overlook Hotel, plus really memorable characters that you can't help but root for. This is a really good time. Scary, but a really good time. And then number 6 is a book that's scary for an entirely different reason, and that is Misery. As somebody who aspires to be a very successful, popular author one day, this is terrifying. The idea that somebody could take fandom to the level where they're like actively hurting you and holding you captive is like, ew. Is that a spoiler? At number 4, we have what I believe, in my personal opinion, to be the scariest Stephen King book, and that is Pet Sematary. This book is terrifying because it deals with a topic that is already scary in and of itself, death, but it also deals with it from multiple different angles, from like a child's perspective, from a parent's perspective, and how like that grief just tears you up inside to the point where you will do anything to have your loved ones back. And just the whole idea of this book shook me to my core as a child, and it still scares me to this day, and I love it so much for that fact. And obviously it resonates with a bunch of other people too because they're remaking the movie, so. And number 3 is the most recent book that is on the list, and that is Revival. I feel like this book kind of went under the radar because it came out around the same time as the Mr. Mercedes series, I forget what it's called, but it came out like a year or so before that, and people just overall, I think, gravitated more towards the series, but I thought that this book was way better. It's got the most likable characters, again dealing with death and grieving in a really interesting way, and the ending is just so twisted and I never saw it coming, and it has stuck with me ever since, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I definitely really enjoyed this book. Next up we have just like my own personal favorite Stephen King book of all time, and that is Under the Dome. This book is just a masterpiece. It's so long and there's so many characters, but I enjoyed every single second of it. I love survival stories, I love isolation stories, and this combines those elements in a brilliant, brilliant way. Again, like all the other Stephen King books, the town really does end up being like another character in the story, and it's just so immersive is the best word I can think of to describe it. Like, you get sucked into all of these people and all of their dramas, and it really explores human nature and what people will do when they feel trapped and cut off, and it's terrifying in a very fun, exciting way. Also, don't watch the TV show because it is not good, in my humble opinion. And finally, the number 1 Stephen King novel of all time, you've probably guessed it already because it's not on the list, and that is It! I feel like there was a study done at one point that basically linked this book to the increased amount of people who are scared of clowns, which I think is hilarious. But also, obviously, this book has been talked about a lot lately because the new movie was very successful. And honestly, I think the fact that a story this long and old and detailed has remained so relevant over the years is a testament to its greatness in and of itself. It's one of those books that you definitely should read in your lifetime. I'm not going to say it doesn't have problematic bits, because it does. A lot of Stephen King books do, but it's a really fun ride if you can hang throughout the whole thing. And that is my top 10 Stephen King novels of all time. I know there's so many that I've missed, and there's also books that I just haven't read yet, so please do let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, please like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to HowExpert or check out HowExpert.com for more information like this.